So I'll record everything here that I'm talking about, so you'll have this in a video to review after we talk here, okay? And then I have other videos on my channel that you can look at and review too, but don't go through too many of them or you'll get lost and confused in a hurry. I've got a lot of information. I use that to put my webinars and training videos on from my employer, and then I take the links from there to put them into the other platform that we use for that system. So there's all kinds of different stuff from websites to eBay on there that you'll have access to. So take it a step at a time. Ask me questions, and I can direct you to things that'll help you. But titles, one of the first things, right? So that's one of the most important, because if the keyword isn't there and somebody searches for it, you won't come up. And then also eBay, their algorithm to decide whether you are high in the search results or not is partially related to how much of that title you're using. So you want to use up all 80 characters if at all possible, or get real close to it, okay? So good long titles are great. Shorter titles, there's always something you can do to improve those. Now, I'm going to pull up my list of eBay sales here so you can see a little bit about what I sell. I do have an eBay store, and that is not something I recommend early on. In fact, the only reason I really do a store is to save on fees. When you sell on eBay, you got your first 50 listings each month free. After that, they'll start charging you 30 cents a listing. And then they always charge the final value fee, 10% on the back end. But if you do an eBay store, then, and I'll pull that up here for the video so you'll see it. Stores.ebay.com is where you'll go for that. And okay, and if we go over to open a store on the side, then they show you the different stores. Now, if we look at, okay, so the starter store, that starter is actually new. It used to be just the basic store was the first one, and it used to be $15 a month if you do it yearly, or $20 a month if you did it monthly. And that's gone up a little bit, as you'll see here in the video here. But the starter store is new, and that one, that might be worth doing actually, because basically the benefit there is the fees. So if you're doing 30 cents per listing and you do over 120 listings, then you're getting to that point where you're more than $20. 130, 140 or so listings, you're more than the $22, and so it makes sense to pay for that basic store. But with the starter, so you could do 100 items per month on a starter, and you're looking at $4.95 per month if you do it yearly, or monthly is $8, $7.95 per month if you do it month to month. Okay. So that'll let you do 100 items per month. Well, if we did 100 items without the store, then you think about that, you're looking at $15 just for that 30-cent insertion fees. So it definitely makes sense to, as soon as you are at that point where you're already spending $5 in insertion fees, so you're past the 50 free and you're starting to get some of those fees, then it makes sense to do a starter eBay store. And then you only upgrade when you're already hitting that amount of spend each month anyway. There's no sense spending money when you don't have to. Okay? So I would recommend that you only do the store when you're already spending that amount, and you only upgrade to the next level when your extra fees are getting to that point where you're spending that extra amount. And that's how you use the store. Okay? All right. Let's talk a little bit about what I do on eBay. I don't have to work real hard on eBay. At least I don't feel like I do. Now, I'm shipping every day. My wife helps me with a lot of that if I'm gone working on other things, or at work at the office or something, then she does a lot of that shipping for me. But it's not that big a deal. I've got, shelves organized in my garage where I have a little bit of space, because I do a lot more now than I did when I started. It used to be just a small amount. But it doesn't take too long to package these things and ship them. The items that I'm going to show you here, and I'm going to go to all of my paid and shipped orders so you can see a bigger history. And so we're looking at a 90-day history here with, it's not a huge amount of sales, but I've done $9,500 in sales over the past 3 months. And part of the reason I sell what I do, and I'll explain more about where I get these things in a little bit, but part of the reason I sell what I do is because I get them for pennies on the dollar. Over the years, I've constantly been looking for any surplus or liquidation resource that I can find where I can get products at a low price and then resell them at a higher price. And so there's a local surplus auction that I go to sometimes up in Salt Lake, and that's close drive for me. Liquidation.com is one that I have done before as well. And then as I've gotten more creative, I've found that there are actually things I can get free many times that are worth money. And so I've got a whole series of videos where I've taught all these different ideas. And again, when I share some of that with you, what I'm hoping is that you don't necessarily look at it and say, do I have that exact item? But instead take the technique and think, well, Mike found sagebrush that he can sell that's in his backyard. What do I have in my backyard that people might want? You know what I mean? So it's more of a mindset than anything. So here we look. This is a fun one right here. Actually, the first item that I'm showing you in the video here is a knife roll carrying storage case. The only reason I sell this, I actually have a wholesaler that I can get this from. I'll pull them up here. GreyEagleTrader.com. Grey GreyEagleTrader.com is one wholesaler that I use sometimes. And they've got a lot of knife stuff. Well, since I have that knife sharpener, I try to sell any knife-related products that I can, just to bring in attention. Even if I'm just breaking even or even losing a little bit of money, if I can bring people into my listing and then in my listing talk about my knife sharpener, which I do on this one, and link them to my eBay listing for my knife sharpener. So in this knife roll listing, for example, I linked to my eBay listing of my Viper Sharp knife sharpener. And so I can get that thing from Grey Eagle, and I don't know if they have it in stock right now. They have some others in here, but this current one is no longer in stock, but they have others in here, and I could get it for about $9, but then I have to pay 7 or 8 shipping, and so I'm barely breaking even when I sell it on eBay. But I went out and started searching on eBay a little bit, and lo and behold, I found another seller selling the exact same item for $12.95 from the USA, free shipping. And that's $2 or $3 cheaper than me going to this wholesaler I had. And so what I have done is the last couple items that I have sold, I have actually gone to that other eBay seller. I buy them from him, change the shipping address to my customer, and have him ship them for me. Okay. And so there are opportunities like that you could do on eBay if you can find, because you'll see things. In fact, I'll show you right here. If we take this, let's see, I'm going to do a simple search here on eBay, because again, the more keywords I have, the fewer results I'm going to have. For a buyer looking for something, they like to narrow it down, and so they'll put a lot of keywords in there. for me as a seller trying to see competitors or other items that are out there, I want to use fewer keywords so that I can find as many items as possible. And so there are a lot of similar knife rolls out there that I can get really cheap, and I can go out and possibly find one of these others that does 24 knives and rolls up a little different, and I could list that for 16 bucks and buy it for 10.99. Here's another one for 11.40 free shipping. You know, I could list that for 16 bucks and buy it for 11.40. This next one here, I believe, is mine. Yep, and I've got one product rating at a 5-star. Fantastic. So I've already got a product rating on it that looks good, which is better than the one right above it that only has 2 stars. And it may be a silly thing that somebody just decided, I don't like it or whatever, wasn't what they expected, and they gave a negative review. Fortunately, I don't have that here, and so that helps. But as I scrolled through this, I think that right there's 2 of them. Those are basically the same item that I'm selling, but they're selling for $12.94 and $12.99. And in fact, this is the guy, the one I'm hovering on here is the guy that had it for sale. He was selling it for like $9 or $10, and I contacted him and said, hey, can you ship this to a different address for me? And after I talked to him and had him ship one out, I think he went and looked at what I was selling and decided, hey, if he can sell it for 16, I might be able to bump my title or my, price up a little bit. And so he did, and he's selling them a little higher. So, but the interesting thing is the reason I am able to, there's 2 reasons I think that I'm able to sell the same thing for $16 that he's selling for $12.99 or $12.94. Part of it is the keywords in the title. I'm not using the same keywords he is, or if I am using some of those keywords, they're not in the same order. And so I've got slightly different keywords, and so people that are finding my listing, there are plenty that are finding the same, because I do use the word knife roll and he uses the word knife roll. I use carrying case and he uses carrying case. But I also use the word storage in mine, and he doesn't use storage in his. And so people that are searching the keywords that I have are finding my listing, and regardless of whether some of them are finding his, people are still buying mine. So the title is huge. Now, here's another tip with your title. Are you taking notes by chance? All right, and then you'll have this video to review too. One of the things I've done with title is I'll go in and I'll list the exact same item 2 different times, 2 different ways with different titles, different keywords. And then I'll watch my stats to see how many viewers I have on there. Do you know where you can see that in your listings? So that's generally on the active listings. So if you go to your seller hub and active listings, and your seller account might look a little different than mine. eBay doesn't make it all the same across the board, but if you go to your active listings and then pull those up and take a look at the active items, it shows you the number of views that your listing has had. It shows you if you have any watchers. That's all shown right there in your eBay account. And so you can see all of that right there. All right, and I just got away from some of my other items I wanted to show you. I'll pull that back up. So if you do A/B testing, that's what we call it in the internet marketing world, is A/B testing, where we have product A and product B, 2 different titles, same item, and you're just testing the different keywords to see which ones sell more, which ones get more views, more watchers, any of that kind of data. And if you see a drastic difference, then you go with the one that has the much higher views. If you don't see an incredibly drastic difference, sometimes I just leave both of them running. And you'll see that with some of these items that I show. So here's, let's see, that's we want to go to all orders. Get back here. All right, so I'm going to just go through some of the recent things that I've sold. So here we've got 2 carbon rods. These are graphite rods. They're 1/2 inch thick, 12-inch long rods. I saw them at one of my surplus opportunities up in the Salt Lake area, and there was a big banana box full of these rods. And I looked up graphite rods on eBay, and sure enough, they were selling. So I thought, all right, I'll put a bid on that. And I think I looked at that box just online, just looking at the picture, and it looked like there were hundreds of rods. And so I thought, well, if I got $10 a piece from those, there's $400 or $500 at least in that box. So I placed a bid of probably 30 or 40 bucks on this box because I really wanted it, because I thought, hey, there's some good value there. And so I won it, and I got the box, and it turns out it's not just the graphite rods that I'm showing here on the screen right now, but they actually had some graphite plates as well. And I didn't know anything about them or what those plates were worth, so I had to research that. And but they're 1 inch thick, 12 by 12 plates, and they don't sell very often, but when they do sell, they'll sell sometimes for over $100 per plate. And I had 2 or 3 of them in that box, along with a whole bunch of these rods. And so I listed those, and then I had 4 or 5 smaller plates, like 4-inch by 6-inch plates or something like that. And so those, are worth 20 or 30 bucks a piece as well. So I put those up. Well, I listed these graphite rods. I see, as I doing the research there, they don't sell all that often, so this is something that'll take me a little while to sell out of them. But I put them up 2 rods at a time for $12.97 and free shipping. They don't cost much to ship. In fact, I'll check the weight on them here. I'll have to put them in a cardboard wrap, but they only weigh 5 ounces for the 2 of them, so I can ship those first class. And so I've sold 3 so far. One person bought 2 sets of 2, so 4 rods. So 25 or 26 bucks for that order, and then $12.97 for the most recent one here. So that it's already almost paid for, and everything else that's left in there is profit. Another one that I picked up that I'll show you here, I sold 3 times over this past week, and I sent some of these into Amazon as well to try and have Amazon fulfill for me. And the great thing about that is if they don't sell on Amazon, I've got the inventory here on Amazon. I can go ahead and just come in here and go to my, where is it? On orders, I think it's under orders. Anyway, there's an option in here. I'm not going to take the time to find it, but I can actually process an order and have it shipped out from the Amazon warehouse, even though it's not sold on Amazon. So I could sell it on eBay, I could sell it on my website, Etsy, anywhere I want to, but because it's in the Amazon warehouse, I can come into here and actually process the order and have them ship it. Okay. And so when I sell out of the ones I have in hand, I still have some listed on my listing on eBay, and if they're not selling on Amazon, but they sell on eBay, I can just have Amazon ship them. Next item in my list of items here on my eBay is my knife sharpener. I went ahead and put that up on eBay, so I've got the visual, or the eBay market there. I've got the web market from my own website, and then I'm going to have it on Amazon, where I'll have the Amazon market as well. And so that one I've got listed there. Here's a good one. This next one came from a box of surplus again, and I had no clue what this was. I had this box full of miscellaneous stuff, and inside was this, looked like a rope, but it was flat, a flat rope type thing, and the back of it had some kind of a self-adhesive thing, and it had a cover on it. And so I just went and I was talking to a buddy of mine at work and looking at it, and he mentioned it looks like fiberglass. And so I went and researched, and that's the trick on some of this stuff. The surplus, you don't know what you're getting, what it is, and so I have to research it. I enjoy that, but I went and researched flat fiberglass rope, And with the stickiness on the back, I thought it might be some kind of a gasket material or something, you know, so I might have put that in there. But anyway, it turns out it is a adhesive-backed wood stove door gasket material. And I saw that it was selling on eBay for, um, I think it was between 15 to 20 bucks for a 10-foot length. I had about 90 some feet, almost 100 feet of it. And I thought, well, it doesn't look like it's selling very often, but heck, I'll put it up there at 10-foot lengths for $16.37 free shipping. And you know, it only costs a few bucks to ship it and make 10 bucks a pop. So I listed it, nothing happened for a long time with it. And then eventually, guess what? The season changed. Winter's coming on, things are getting colder. I've sold out of all of it now. It's all gone. In fact, I sold all of my 10-foot lengths and I had one left at about 6.5, 7 feet. And so I relisted it at the same price I was selling at the 10-foot ones, and it sold within a matter of days. And it was gone. So what I learned from that, I mean, I made money. That honestly, that rope cost me like maybe 50 cents, and you know, I made what 170, 160, 170 bucks on there minus shipping. You know, I'm profiting at least 120, $130 on that, probably more than that. But anyway, it didn't cost me much, and my profit on that is just astronomical. So I like that kind of stuff. And so that's a lot of what I do is just things I can pick up surplus. Okay. So some of the items I'm going to send you will come from these surplus lots. I had actually thought about sending one of my favorite items to you, but I don't know if I should or not. Right here. I wondered about it when I saw that you were overseas, but I mean, this ship's just fine. You know, I'm not worried about it being in a box for a few days in shipment. I've shipped it overseas. This is a cactus that I have access to right out here in the town that I live in, on the West Desert, west of Utah Lake. They're destroying these things. They're just bulldozing them into the ground to build houses. And so I go out there and dig up the whole clump and sell one little barrel. It's a barrel cactus, Mojave Mound cactus. I sell each individual barrel for anywhere from $14 to $19.97 a piece. And I've sold 150 of them. Well, with this one listing. I have another listing, and I've had others in the past where I've sold quite a few too. So this is a great moneymaker for me, and this is one of those things where I was walking around out in the desert one day, just taking a hike here around town, and saw this, and it was probably in bloom, and it was beautiful, and I think I just thought, I wonder if I could sell that on eBay. And what I would like for you is to make that your mantra. Everything you see from now on, garbage, junk, something that somebody else is throwing away, something growing in nature, anything, you look at it and think to yourself, I wonder if I could sell that on eBay. If you don't have the eBay app handy on your phone right then to look it up, then make a note at least to check it out later of what it is, and then go look at it. You might be surprised a lot of times. Okay? So I might send one of those to you. Another one that I sold before the cactus is sagebrush, and this was an interesting one. This was back in 2014, January or February. I heard one of the other coaches mention to one of his clients that he had even heard that somebody sold sagebrush on eBay, and so I thought about that, and I thought, well, there's sagebrush all around my house, everywhere I go out there. And so I went and looked on eBay for sagebrush, and sure enough, I saw a box of sagebrush, a flat rate USPS box that sold for 38 bucks. And I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, why? Why? You know, and so I clicked on the listing to try and understand why somebody would buy sagebrush. And in the listing, the guy said, I'm a model train enthusiast, and I was going to use this to make trees, but I decided to go another way. You could probably get a dozen or more trees out of this box of sagebrush. Here it is. And so that, led me to understand what he was doing with it. He was selling it for, somebody as a model train enthusiast was going to buy it for miniature trees. So I went out, cut some big pieces of sagebrush, put them on my driveway next to a ruler to show their size, and took pictures of it and listed it on eBay as model trees, right? Well, a week later, I sold my first box for 30 some dollars. I think it was about 35 bucks. And I thought, okay, well, that wasn't hard. I'll try that again. So I listed it again, and sure enough, it sold again. And so there I thought, okay, there's something to this. And so I started listing different sizes of it. And I don't do model trains. I still, to this day, know very little about it. I've learned a lot more about the gauges and the different sizes and everything. But I just put several different listings. Again, that A/B testing, miniature trees. I found that some people are looking for the word armatures. Tree armatures, which is just the part before they put all the leaves on it. They call them armatures. And so I put that up there. Some people are searching for deadfall material, model railroad, model train. So I put all of these keywords in there and tested different things until I found what worked best. And now I sell thousands of dollars of sagebrush every single year. Okay. And so that and the cactus, if we scroll through my listings, there's another sagebrush, there's another cactus, and you'll see a lot of the other surplus stuff, but here's another sagebrush. Here's some obsidian that I picked up just down in southern Utah. Here's another sagebrush listing. So, I sell that very often, and if I could find a few more creative items like that I could sell, that are easy to pick up, I mean, straight from nature, for crying out loud, that's fantastic, right? So you might have something that you can find that you have access to that people want in another part of the country or another part of the world that they're willing to pay for. I even see people selling sand from beaches on eBay. Okay, I see people selling, yeah, right? I see people selling sawdust on eBay. Wood chips. I mean, there are so many different things you can do. And then again, a lot of the stuff I do is surplus. So as far as the surplus stuff, and I'll send you some other videos to take a look at, but thrift stores, secondhand stores, yard sales. Okay. So anything like that, you get in there and you start researching it. If you can buy it for $1 or 50 cents at the thrift store, and you look on eBay and see it selling for 20 or 30 bucks, it may be worth doing, right? So I don't know what what the costs are for shipping for you if you were to ship from there to here, but you should be able to set up an eBay account both for the US and for Japan. And so you could sell locally there as well as over here. Okay. So the camera I was going to tell you about over there, you might find, I don't know if you'll find a lot of them over there or not. Okay. So this camera that my dad had a couple of these he gave me. It's called the Olympus XA, and I've found that the XA and I think the XA2 are the best ones. They sell the best for the most money, especially the XA. Now here's an XA2. So there's 200 and this is something else you want to learn, is how to do some of that basic research. But we've got 268 active listings when I search for Olympus XA. And if we scroll down on the left-hand column where we can narrow our search, we can go down and there's a show only section I'm showing you here in the video. And under that, you click on sold listings, and now you're looking at only sold items. So 268 sold, or I'm sorry, 268 active, and out of that, there have been 690 sold, and that's within the last 3 months. So that's better than 100%, which means if you can get this item cheap enough, it will sell. This is a guaranteed sale. That's one of the things I love about eBay is you can look at it and say, okay, 20% of them are selling, 30% are selling, 50%. And that's not necessarily that only that percentage of them is selling, but that many compared to the active have sold within the last 90 days. That's all that's telling you. Okay. So if it's a lower percentage, if it's only like 10% of the active, that doesn't mean it won't sell. Obviously they're selling. It just means it may take a little longer before it does sell. Okay. And if that's an item that you think will sell for $100 and you can get it for $1, go ahead and buy it. Who cares if it's going to take a while to sell? It's worth it, right? But this Olympus XA, if you find any of those, my goodness, I even at one point, I went in to eBay and I found sellers who were selling these untested that would go cheap, and I would buy them for 10 to 20, sometimes even 40 or $50, hoping that I would get it and it would be in good condition and I could actually sell it for 100. And oftentimes I was right. I made out on that, positive far more times than I ever had one that was a dud. And even as a dud, if I got it, checked it out, discussed what was wrong with it and what needed, I could usually resell it for parts for the same price that I paid for it or close to it. But more often I was buying them and reselling them for a profit. So that was a strategy I had for a little while, is just buying them lower and then selling them higher. But that's made in Japan. I see a lot of these being sold from Japan. I've actually bought a few from Japan to resell, but most of the time the Japanese are selling them at higher prices because they know the value to it. So, but if you see these that say something like this, to Olympus XA film camera for parts of repair, I usually liked that a lot. This one's coming from Morocco, so the cost is a little higher. But if I go in there and find that they list it for parts or repair simply because they don't know the condition, that's usually good, because if it looks like it's in good cosmetic condition, then chances are good that it actually works. This one says tested, they were both tested, and so I would always look for the ones that were untested and looked good. People basically don't know what they have. I'd buy it cheap, clean it up a little bit, put a battery in it, test it, make sure it's working, and then resell it. So all kinds of strategies out there. So what I would ask you to do is I'll send you some items to give you something to start with. It doesn't look like you need that. You've got some ideas, you've got some things going, but that's what you paid for, or part of what you paid for. So I'm going to send you one item that I'm sending is from liquidation.com. The other one is from one of my surplus lots, and these aren't, they're not going to make you $100 or anything like that, but it gives you two different items to kind of get a feel for and get an idea of some of the options that can come from places out there. And then I want you to list those, anything else that you can come into. And what I would say is, before I'll do another call with you, I want you to either have made over $100 in sales or have at least 50 items listed. Okay? Because if you can get to that point, then I know you're serious, I know you're working, you're putting some effort into it, then I'm willing to spend a little more time working with you. And then typically what I'll do is 30-minute calls, $50 a call for any future calls. Okay? So, okay, so I will save this video and send it to you.